And we're live in 3, 2, 1.
Hi everybody, welcome to this edition of the Nonprofit Social Media Nerds. We are actually broadcasting right from the Nonprofit Technology Conference in Portland, Oregon. So excited to have you with us here. If you don't know me, I'm Julia Campbell, and I help nonprofits build communities and engage with their movements using digital tools. And I gave 3 presentations today and stayed up way too late last night, and I have no voice, so bear with me. But I will let Josh introduce himself. We're with our special friend, Tim Sarrantonio, the director of...
Sarrantonio. It's all good.
Tim Sarrantonio, and he's the director of strategic partnerships.
It's 11 letters
at Neon
long.
One.
It's 11 letters.
That's why your Twitter is Midwest
TGS, and I don't even live in the Midwest anymore.
Oh, well, I know. I was kind of wondering, you were hard to find on Twitter, but I found it. So
it's slightly by
And Neon One is just at Neon One.
At Neon One Tech.
And then you guys know Josh. He's the director of mission and communication at Susan G. Komen, Florida. So let's kick it off.
Absolutely. So we are here, as Julia said, at N10's annual technology conference, basically a big geek fest, where we all get together and talk about fundraising, talk about social media, marketing.
About
beer, well, absolutely. Which is a great...
It's Portland, I mean, you have to.
Yes, absolutely. We were lucky last night to be invited by Tim to the start of a series of dinners called Crafting Change. And Tim, what was your inspiration to start this series of dinners?
So, how long have both of you been going to N10, NTC?
This is my third.
It's my second.
This is my 7th.
Okay.
Whoa.
So,
I missed so many years. I can't believe it started so late.
Yeah, it's wild. This is one of my favorite shows of the year to go to. This is an AFP icon, right? And so for Neon One, what we do overall is try to build this technology ecosystem for mission-driven organizations. So nonprofits, foundations, educational institutions. You know, what's the toolkit that powers and fuels, their energy and their passion? That's what we want to be there for. And we don't want that technology to get in the way. So for me, I tried to think about when you go to these conferences, there's kind of a rinse and repeat element of like, all right, we're going to go to the cocktail hour, and then we're going to go to the after party.
Get the swag at the exhibitor booth.
Gotta do the swag, right?
How many things can I pick up for my kids?
Gotta get the squish balls.
Gotta get the squish balls. What pens can I pick?
Yes.
Pick up. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'll politely listen to you, and then like, oh, cool. That has no application to what I do in my.
But can I have a T-shirt?
But yes, can I please have a T-shirt? Yes, you can scan my badge, right? So there's just kind of that cadence that always comes with these things. And so what we wanted to do is legitimately disrupt that in a very small way by bringing things into a more intimate setting. And so we invited you folks, as well as a few other thought leaders in the space, to have what is called a Jeffersonian Dinner. And the idea that folks, and this is, you can actually, I think you could just go to jeffersoniandinner.org.
You sent us a document.
Yeah. It's anybody can do
this. I read
the
instructions. Nobody else did.
No, I followed. I knew that we had to
read
focus.
the instructions.
You did your homework explicitly, and that was very
good. Do I get a gold star?
You do. I will make sure you get one. And so the idea is you choose a topic for everyone to unpack, and that's what we'll talk about after this too. But the thing is that there's no side conversations. Just like how we're all having a conversation together, that's what it was for as much as we could in the bar that we had it at. And then everyone shares their personal connection to the topic, which is last night's was, are humans necessary for fundraising? And then is there a thread that connects everybody? And then what are the action items that we're going to do to kind of move from tonight into something more sustainable? So it's not, because you go to these networking events, it's like, oh, I'll email you, and we all say the same crap, and it's just like, how do we break this?
And you created a Facebook group for it, which I really like.
Yes, and that was Josh's idea.
Because they, the people at my table especially, it wasn't, what I liked about this particular dinner is that it wasn't the kind of place where it's like, oh, here's your card or here's your card. So I felt kind of awkward being like, I'm obsessed with you, here's my card. Like the fundraising woman, she'd done fundraising for 30 years.
Yeah, from Joffrey. Yeah.
I need to give her a call, but I felt awkward because it wasn't that kind of informal, networky type of event. We were genuinely having a conversation.
Yeah.
So I love that you created a way for us to meet afterwards and connect, and then also to share resources that we brought up at the dinner. But since we didn't have our phones, we couldn't share them, which I thought was great.
The rule is, and I was telling Josh a little bit beforehand, the inspiration for that, we all we all collectively came up about it. I would say you folks were just as much making this a success as us, right? Like, cool, we bought some food and some beer for people, right? But like the true power came from the group. And that's kind of the whole idea of why, like, it exemplifies our approach to ecosystem as well, because like Neon does cool stuff, but you folks are your own subject matter experts in your own way, and we're much stronger together.
We're stronger together.
And so that's why I was like, oh my gosh, like, can I put this into like actual practice? And I've been having an obsessive idea of wanting to do a Jeffersonian dinner for like 3 years. So I was like,
it sets the standard. I'm not kidding that I think it was absolutely the highlight of the conference. And well, also because I talked so much more in depth to people than I would have if I had my phone, or if I'm wandering around an exhibit hall, or if I'm at lunch, or if I'm running from thing to thing. And the fact that there was a time that we were all on the same page, we all knew it wasn't an in and out kind of thing, like a network.
Everyone had to shut their phones off right in the beginning, put them away.
It's also interesting as a digital marketing consultant and someone that tries to be so good about my phone but fails every day. But I try. I know, right? And that's the great thing about ITC is you're going to see people. Yeah. Yes. This is Tim you have to talk to. She's looking for a CRM.
Oh, okay.
So this is what's
we
happening.
can hook you up.
Yeah. So I think the best part, though, was just genuinely connecting and really listening. I found myself really listening and not just thinking about the next thing I was going to say or jumping on my phone and then losing half the conversation. So I think that it's a model.
Well, we were taken out of our comfort zone for having a
complete strangers with no phones.
Not even just a complete strangers, being a single focus. Like, how often do you sit around and have a conversation where there is one person talking and you're not interjecting your own side conversations? Like, there was time when I'd be like, oh, look, it's Macho Man Randy Savage up in the ceiling.
Yes.
But I didn't say that because we were focusing on the person talking.
Yeah.
It was unusual because, like you said, I wanted to take out my phone and tweet out something or.
I know.
I feel like we do so much production in terms of we put things out there.
Yeah.
There's not enough active engagement and active listening. And so ultimately, in terms of the question itself, like, are humans necessary for fundraising? Yes. Right. Because, and I am now allowed to share my opinion. Because
good. That's right. I love that.
As a facilitator, I had so many times that I wanted to blurt something out.
Yeah. Oh.
And I suppressed it.
I think I'd be the worst facilitator.
You helped a lot, though. You helped a lot, and I saw you on your end that it was going pretty well too.
Yeah.
So I think that, and it was really important to have different perspectives. So, we had people from nonprofits, we had people from like AI companies, we had consultants that had been in the space in fundraising for 30 years, and I think the only feedback that we had was like the topic, are humans necessary for fundraising, was not as provocative as we actually thought it ended up would be.
I just love the question. I think that, and what I said during the dinner, so, just to recap kind of how my thread and my connection to it, and then also what I learned was that I think that people hear that question when you talk about digital, and you talk about social media, and you talk about Facebook fundraising, and what nonprofits hear is, are humans necessary? Oh, they might cease to be necessary, and they get really
I'm out of a
freaked
job.
out.
I'm out of a job.
So
that's not it.
I loved that question because I said, I struggle with this all the time. I'm not saying that humans are not necessary for fundraising. I'm saying there are all these things that humans do that they might not need to do, that could be automated or made more effective or made better or enhanced. So the question for me really spoke to me because I often feel that people stuck in their ways, or maybe scared of new tools and new strategies and new ways to do things, hear that when I kind of come at them and I'm like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with Instagram stories and you have to purchase Instagram story ads, and they're like, oh my God, you gotta slow down here. So I love that. I love the question.
There was something that came up at our table, is that nonprofits are very risk adverse.
Yes.
That we as an industry are hesitant to try new things, are afraid of.
We're not allowed to fail.
We're not allowed to fail, which means we can't invest resources.
It's not
in
break
something.
hard, work hard with the Facebook. Work hard, break things.
Yeah.
Run fast, break things. I don't
Right.
even know. But we don't have that picture.
No, it's not that we, more than not having that culture, and as you said, we can't fail because we have such limited resources, whether it's time, money, support from staff, that whatever we're going to do, it has to be the way that's always been done. It has to be what's tried and true.
Yep.
And if you're going to try something new, well, then you must be like a mega nonprofit, and you can risk losing $10,000 on a new shiny widget. But if you're not going to take the time to become that next shiny widget user, then we're not pushing the industry. We're not pushing the way that we can accomplish our goals.
I mean, and we're seeing this when we look at the data in terms of growth for things like do-it-yourself fundraising, right? That while that's the narrative that I think a lot of nonprofits are unfortunately internalizing or feel like they have to do it that way, like, oh, things have to be expensive or things have to be very risky. I think there's been a lot of great organic changes in not only the democratization of technology for how people can communicate, but further than that, people and donors themselves feeling empowered to do things.
Yes.
Like Rallybound, our peer-to-peer product, for instance, Michael J. Fox Foundation, like their do-it-yourself campaigns, millions of dollars, right? And that's because people feel empowered that they can do it on their own. But you need humans
Yes.
for that.
You also need a great reason to give, you know? So
Exactly.
Yes.
we talk about the tools. The tools are worthless if you don't have a great story or a compelling reason for me to give you money.
So it's more than that. It's about where does that personal, because we give because of a person, we give because of that relationship. So are you able to create that personal relationship? I'm brought in from Tim. Tim has gotten me engaged with that organization. I'm giving to that organization because of Tim. But all of a sudden, Tim's out of the picture, and along comes Tim's replacement.
Yeah. You went down this path, and
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, man, you are getting like, no, it's in a really good way.
Right, so Tim's replacement is cultivated you, he's stewarded you all along the whole time, but you know what? Tim doesn't exist. Tim's replacement is AI. Tim's replacement is the emotional
We had that part.
the emotional connection that's brought me in was that person, but now we've removed that human. We're using technology to build upon your emotion, to build upon your connection, and still continue with that donor journey.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll never have fundraising without humans, but it is possible
Oh, absolutely.
to get through the process in different ways without them.
Yeah, we had to talk about Facebook fundraising.
Extensive talk about Facebook
Where I
fundraising.
was saying, I'm not necessarily coming down on if it's right or wrong,
Mhm.
but you could never even let anyone at the nonprofit know that you're doing a fundraiser for them. You
Yep.
could just decide,
They'll just
oh,
get a check.
I saw this video, or my friend took me to this great event, or not even that. You could just read a news story,
Yep.
go find them on Facebook, and be like, I'm going to donate my birthday, and Facebook will take care of all the notifications, the reminders, the tax receipts, the emails, and they're building software. And Jared was talking about software that can really pull in the donor data and automate it. And Marco was talking about this too. Marco Kunze, one of our co-presenters, was talking about this kind of dashboard that people are creating where it will remind you to thank the fundraiser, remind you to send out thank you reminders, so you can get that donor data that's lacking.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, honestly, if I want to run a fundraiser on Facebook, I don't have to talk to the nonprofit at all to do it.
But you need the sweaty monkey fist to push the button.
The sweaty monkey fist, which we didn't know what that was.
Have you heard the sweaty monkey fist?
It's the MailChimp send.
Yeah, when you're about to, like, it's like
Yes.
because it's scared to,
Yes.
to do it. My
That's amazing. I never
my
thought
cousin's
that.
a developer at MailChimp. And
Oh,
it's just
well,
like,
please say that the Sweaty Monkey Hand was a huge topic of
She'll
conversation
appreciate
in
that.
our email list
she'll
discussion.
appreciate that. That's funny.
I love that.
Yeah, and Facebook's tough because, you know,
Mhm. There's so many pros and cons.
there's so many pros and cons, and the worry that I have is when we look at overall retention rates in the industry,
Right.
they're dropping, right? And they're dropping for small donors in particular.
Yes.
Now, that's all fundraising, and so an argument could be made, well, they're simply moving their contribution to a different medium that is not trackable by
Right.
typical systems like that we've seen with this type of stuff. And the data that's being cited is from the Fundraising Effectiveness Project, which is the largest individual data set. And that's Neon, Bloomerang, Donor Perfect, like a bunch of different companies put money into that. But like none of those people are like, none of us formalize a Facebook thing, right? Like it's near impossible. You look at the APIs, and it's like untouchable from an automation standpoint because Facebook doesn't want any of that stuff to leave. But I imagine that might change, or there'll be another platform in terms of what people will adopt, things like Instagram. You can't have days like what we had yesterday. Are you okay? Are you okay, by the way?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
I couldn't post a story for 24 hours and people were worried.
Yeah.
So I
the whole internet was like, oh, right, Twitter's still here.
Yeah, right. Twitter. And is there anything else? I don't know. LinkedIn?
Yeah, and did you hear why it happened? It was like some European website, and they just like, there was a conflict.
I just heard it was a server or something.
It was a
server
server
it was the Russians. I don't even know.
It was a European server conflict thing, and it wasn't malicious. It was just like one of
DDoS
those
attack.
things that happens.
So, and I talked about the conversation that we had last night about how giving is not cool.
Yeah.
So I made the point that giving is not cool. It's not, right? We want it to be. It's cool to us. It's cool to everybody here.
Yeah.
But in general, people don't trust nonprofits. They don't trust institutions.
Yeah.
Skepticism and cynicism is increasing every single day.
Yeah.
And we are just such in our own bubble that we don't really see it. But when I saw it was on Giving Tuesday, when my friends were saying, oh, I haven't given to a nonprofit this year. Do you know of any? Like, who should I give to other than the Red Cross? Who should I give to other than St. Jude, Children's Hospital? And genuinely asking me my opinion and what they should do, and what does the money really go where people say it go, the questions that drive us is completely insane. But to an average person, they don't think about these things. So
they're not even thinking about necessarily the cause or the nonprofit in particular in those situations, right? They're thinking about the cause. They're like, I want
to help this cause.
Because we see this all the time with like Civicor, our Giving Day platform, because they do like North Texas Giving Day. That's 48 million in one day.
Right.
One day. And in May, a lot of these people do it in May, or they do it on Giving Tuesday too. So it's all the same idea though, because you see Giving Days a lot with community foundations, but somebody doesn't necessarily go and go, because if they wanted to give to the nonprofit, what they would probably do is just go to the nonprofit's website. So when you're going to a Giving Day or doing Giving Tuesday,
you want to give to the community.
You're giving to the community and you're giving to a thing that excites you. So that gets back to the passion element and the storytelling element that I think is missing sometimes, where if it is this big marketplace of charities that people can choose from, like, how do you stand out? And a big way to do that is by telling your story better. But if you're so wrapped up doing things like processing a batch of donations and you don't have the time to do that,
or getting hung up on the minutia of the tools.
Yep.
And in my last point on
which can get in the way,
Giving Tuesday,
yes.
whatever, any of that, I think that anything that makes giving cool is good, and I don't care what it is. I think a rising tide lifts all ships. I think that the more we normalize giving, I don't care if it's Instagram or Facebook or if it's crowdfunding or if it's going to a donate page. If we normalize it and make it something that everybody does, like, hey, it's my birthday. Now it's just the thing people do. So I think it helps everybody.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
When I turned 30, I turned that birthday party into a fundraiser. I did a DIY fundraiser. It was at a brewery. I love my breweries. I had a band. I had Cameron Esposito, the comedian, perform. I knew her in Chicago, and I was like, Cameron, can you perform at my birthday party?
And by the way, it's for charity, so you have to.
Absolutely. And we raised like $5,000.
Oh, good for you.
But that's like, people were like, wow, that's like amazing, right? But people don't think it's within their power to do that type of thing. And I think that the true element is sense of ownership. That's what I think is it's not that I don't necessarily think it's that they don't feel, or people don't think it's cool. It's that they think it's like an outside thing, that they don't have any sense of self in it.
It's inaccessible. It's philanthropy. It's like for the millionaires.
Yes, and that's unfortunate, because the data is showing that $1,000 and above donors are the ones that have increased the 1.8% overall increase in giving that we saw from 2018. But that's because it's like rich people giving more donor advised funds and writing checks and things like that. But I think the trend we will see is more omni-channel, more embrace of digital, but I do think that people are desperate for those personalized experiences, those personal interactions. So that's why I think things like direct mail and events and stuff like that, they're not going away. They're going to evolve.
Getting a handwritten thank you note is so special. It's really,
I love it.
It's amazing. I remember when I was pregnant with my son, and I was talking to a software company, and they sent me a onesie. And a thank you.
That's smart.
Because they were listening to you.
Yeah. I was like, that is amazing. Who does that? No one does that. It's crazy.
We don't think about the experience.
Yeah, right.
We think about the end result.
Oh my God, so right. It's transactional.
It's very transactional, and if we approached it that this is a service that we are performing, and that you as a donor are part of that experience.
Yes.
We don't center the donor in our conversations, and we don't center him in it's an object to be interacted with, as opposed to it's a person that you're building a relationship with. And automation, things like AI, we can get there. But I wrote an article for N10, and I'm like, yeah, but if your data's shit, sorry, I hope I can curse.
Oh yeah.
Crap. Garbage. Okay.
I'm sure I've sworn.
So, Paul, you can bleep it out.
No.
But that's the reality though. If it's garbage data, like all these fancy tools don't matter.
No.
So you got to get back to the basics of like, I'm going to enter the name correctly.
Right.
You know.
Right. And how about? Can we all agree to stop doing Mr. and Mrs. a man's name?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, the household stuff.
Absolutely
is a
not.
mess.
That is a surefire way to get an angry phone call from me. So.
Yeah. I think that a good start that a nonprofit in a realistic way, like if we're talking about action items.
Yes, action. Now we're going to go to action items.
Action items.
I think we gotta
think about your household strategy.
Right.
Think about your relationship strategy, not your individual donor strategy, but what happens when it's a household. Because the average system, and our friend Clay Buck pointed this out to me. Shout out to Clay. He pointed out, he says, whenever systems are looking at retention rates, for instance, they're looking at an individual ID. And so if a household gives, you give 1 year, maybe the husband gives the other year, that would not be counted.
So I'd be a lie bunt.
You'd be a lie bunt. So we have to think about these things. And that is one where
I didn't even think about that.
I didn't think about that.
So no soft credit.
Or are you doing your soft credits properly when it comes to that? Are you thinking about that from a stewardship standpoint? Because the households themselves, there's a lot of data that shows that, when the gifts come in from a household standpoint, it's like the woman is the one actually running the checkbook, right?
Well, yeah.
Surprise. I mean, that's how it works in my house. And so,
or the not checkbook, or whatever, online system.
And so, there's a disconnect between the reality of how we steward somebody, which such as don't do this solicitation thing for the salutation, because the reality is that if you're not thinking about this holistically and thinking about people from a household standpoint, you're going to receipt them wrong. They're going to get angry. They're not going to give to you again.
Because we assume this certain level of personalization now. We just assume that people know everything about us and all about our data and our names and where we like shop, and I think we just kind of, whether we think it's creepy or not.
It's an expectation. Little expectation.
It's a commerce expectation, and the problem is that nonprofits have not made the shift that it's also becoming a philanthropic expectation now. The donor giving experience just is bad, like overall. Like even on Facebook, it's easy to give, but like it's very impersonal, and it's almost like it's a game how quickly I can get the transaction.
And then also, like you just said, the donor doesn't know how the back end works, so they don't.
Nor do they care.
Well, they don't know that if they don't check that box for the email, or if they don't outreach to the nonprofit, they might not get a thank you, and then they get angry because they're like, well, I never got a thank you from that nonprofit, so kind of like screw them. And then it's not even it's not anyone's fault. It's the middleman not having any skin in the game for the nonprofit and really caring about user experience, but not integrating the two.
You know what new donor retention rate is? New donor.
Oh my God, it's like, isn't it like 1%? No, it's for every 7 donors, 10 donors, 7 leave. Is that what
So that's a bad one, but then for new donors themselves, you're only going to retain about 20-25%. And so we have to think about what is, if somebody came into your house, or they maybe this is the first time that they're experiencing me talking or something like that. Hopefully it's a good experience and you're getting a lot out of that. But I want to think about it that way because we don't think about it for that experience for our donors as this might be literally the first time that they've ever given to a nonprofit before. I think we just always assume, someone's given to a nonprofit before.
That's true.
Right?
It doesn't make assumptions.
And especially with the millennials, Generation Z, those two new types of donors, like the reason that giving's not cool is because giving is a terrible impersonal experience.
It is not easy. People have, I'm not a millennial, but I kind of have zero tolerance for things that don't work.
Yep.
On my phone or a website that doesn't work. We just have so many options now that we will immediately click away. So I think you're right. So I think we need to wrap up. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I think
I could talk on and on and on.
Well, that's why we're gonna have Tim.
Thought?
Tim will be back on future episodes of Nonprofit Social Media Nerds.
Maybe at AFP?
Maybe we'll get a chance.
I don't want to take up all your bandwidth, but
no, we certainly want to continue this conversation because you have a lot to add to it as a thought leader yourself from Neon One and in this space. If we wanted,
when is this coming out, by the way?
We'll soon.
Get it up soon.
Yeah.
So no, but there's an opportunity if you were going to AFP.
This will be up before that.
Okay, so if you're going to AFP, let's maybe include the sign-up link because we have spots left for our next Crafting Change dinner.
What's the topic going to be for that dinner?
Can you automate gratitude?
Okay.
Can you automate gratitude?
I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Pamela Grove's going to be there. It looks like so. We got some great consultants. Mark Pittman. I think Mark Pittman's going to be there.
Gail Perry.
I think Gail. I'm trying to get Gail there. So now I'm going to call her out. So
Gail, you're going to be there.
Yep.
So and then actually AFP's Young Professional of the Year, Jonathan Richardson from Albany Damien Center, personal friend of mine.
Amazing.
So he looks like he's going to be there too. So we got nonprofits, we got you folks. It's going to be a great conversation, but we got some spots left. So
okay, so where can they find you?
Yes,
if they want to learn more about
you and Neon One.
If they even tweet it like at Neon One Tech, like asking about that dinner, we can get that out there. I'm Midwest TGS. On Twitter too, but if they follow you on Twitter or you on Twitter, we're chatting with each other all the time. And then of course neon1.com just for general stuff.
Okay,
but about this dinner, Twitter's a good one. Tim at neon1.com email, that's fine too.
Hashtag Crafting Change.
Hashtag Crafting Change. Follow that.
That's great. I haven't seen that used other than to refer to the dinner, so
it's
very little.
Very little. Yeah. I checked because sometimes
you got to do your research.
No, you used it right. Yeah, somebody does it wrong. It's like, oops, what did I just dive into?
Susan's album party.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
You know about that one.
Susan's album party.
Susan's album party.
Oh, I actually maybe offline you can tell me about that one.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Anyway, well, thank you so much for having me on. This is great. This is awesome.
We really
pleasure
appreciate
to have you for dinner, and it
was wonderful.
We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody.
Bye, and we'll put all that stuff up in the comments. But you can always ask questions of us, DM us, go in the group, and
we'll see you soon.
Have a great day.